Okay, we are recording.
Yay,
Okay.
recording. Okay.
All right, so what do we want to start discussing?
Video first?
Yeah, I was going to say the
Yes.
video. I was talking about
Okay.
Cool.
I've seen other video. Oh, well, I've seen one other video like this. Like, have you guys ever seen a video? It seemed to me like it was made by the same people. I watched one in like
The show, yeah, that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know about a TV show. What's the TV
Well, that's
That's on a TV show.
Oh,
that was a TV show doing the thing.
So they do that with like in different situations with like different people and stuff, right?
Yeah.
The other one that I watched was about like this one was about disabilities, and then the other one that I watched was about race. And so they sent like a girl.
Ooh.
I can't remember what race she was, but she wasn't white, and they would like have her go into a restaurant and then have the owner of the restaurant also be an actor and like give her a really hard time and then see how the customers would react. But unlike one, I feel like in the video that we just watched, all the reactions were like pretty good. Like people were standing up for the kid and thought that the guy that was being mean like needed to leave. So I thought that was really cool. But in the other one that I watched, like the owner of the restaurant was being really mean to this girl and like telling her to go back to her own country and like all this horrible stuff. And some people were like agreeing with him and like being horrible people. And so I was really glad that in this one that like everybody teamed up against the bad guy, you know?
Yeah, I was like, faith in humanity restored.
Exactly.
Like, for a short time. Yeah. No, but I knew that guy was an actor that they had hired to be like a jerk face to the family. Like it still just made me so angry. Like I just got really frustrated and like my heart was racing and I was like, no, bad man, leave, you need to leave.
I know. And, like even the people that were like not actors that were in that scenario, some people were like crying. Like people get really worked up about it, and it made me want to cry too. You know, like
I know you're like so emotional.
I know. It's really
I didn't feel like crying, but I did feel frustrated. That's how I'm gonna put it. Is like it was hard to watch. It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like I want to just like reach through the screen and just be like, "Hey,
calm down." Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So, glitching.
Because like in places that are sad. What? I think it just kind of spazzed out there a little bit on the internet.
It did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
did you catch anything that I said before?
I still had the audio. I just lost.
Oh, okay.
Video, so it made me worried that we were gonna lose everything for a second.
Me too. Slightly terrified. But yeah, that's happening somewhere, and that.
Oh yeah.
Like I learned about it in psychology. It's called the group mentality or something like that, and it's the more people that are around that are seeing this bad or unacceptable behavior or like emergency situation, the less likely people are actually going to stand up to the person who's doing the bad behavior, or like the less likely somebody's going to help you in an emergency situation, because it's like the diffusion of responsibility.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever done any like emergency training, but I had to do a bunch for wilderness advanced first aid and wilderness first responder, and I was supposed to do wilderness EMT, but that's months of training and money, and I didn't have either of those. But that's one of the first things they talk about is changing the language from "can somebody call 911" to "you call 911."
Yeah, like you right now.
Yeah, because that's what happens is if you say somebody called 911, everybody assumes someone called 911, but then because everyone assumed it, no one actually did.
Right.
So it's the same thing where it's like, not that all these people are terrible people, but that they assume someone else is going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to like make waves or something. Like they just want to stand out.
Because also, especially if it's like an ambiguous situation, if the kid is being obnoxious in the restaurant, that's something where it's like people are uncomfortable as it is, because it's like,
okay, but there's a difference between.
No, like I'm not saying that, like, no, but I'm saying like that mentality, like way easier to have.
Right. What's that? Oh,
we're good. It was just froze for a second, but we're good.
Okay.
We're frozen again.
Okay.
I'm gonna scoot my computer more towards the Wi-Fi.
That's a good idea.
There we go.
Because I was thinking kind of along the same lines of what you were talking about, Landon, is like sometimes parents really don't like keep a handle on their kids, and sometimes their kids really are running amok.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, they are.
I work in retail, and one day, like a couple months ago, I like walked around the corner and some kid was French braiding all of my shirt sleeves together in a long line. And I was like, child, where's your mother? Stop it. Don't be stupid.
I came across the little girl in the middle of the Safeway aisle with their pants down, and she's going to the bathroom on the floor. And I was just standing there like, I don't know what to do with this. Like,
no.
I was just like, I mean, she's like 3, so it's like.
Okay. Yeah. But I was like, in my discussion.
But where was her mom? You know?
Right.
Or dad, I don't care.
But in my discussion post, I kind of touched on it. It's like, it's not the public's job to tell the parents how to parent their kid, even if it's like blatantly like,
unless it's abuse. Gosh. Unless it's abuse.
Right. Unless it's like causing physical harm to the kid. But the public just needs to stay out of people's personal lives because it's not their business. And because you never know, a kid could look completely normal and have a disorder and you wouldn't know. And so maybe that behavior is perfectly acceptable for that kid to be doing, but not like for a normal kid or whatever. So normal.
I feel like I always bring up my work, but it's just so relevant to so many of our discussions.
Yes.
Real life.
Yeah, real life.
Yeah. Today, like I just got off work like 20 minutes ago, and today there was this little boy in a cart, and he's super cute, but he was really upset about something, and he was just like speaking at the top of his lungs, really wild, like it was loud, but no one said anything to the lady, and then, well, the mom, and then this guy goes, someone shut that kid up, like some guy, and it's like, dude, that's not your kid, this is not, like, you don't get to say that.
Right?
Yeah.
Icky.
And tying back into last week, you know how I told you that I had a transgender friend at my work that like I mentioned him in the last post? Yeah. So I told him that I was taking a class where we were like being taught to have acceptance for kids or anyone that is LGBTQI.
Yeah.
And got really excited, and he gave me a high five, and he's like, that gives me so much hope, like I'm so excited.
Heart happiness.
And it was so happy. Yeah, it was like the happiest moment ever. And then literally the next day, one of my associates is gay and went out onto his lunch break and was sitting in his car smoking a cigarette, and the people next to him asked him to unroll his window. So he did, and they start yelling like fag and gay and all this stuff at him, and just for no reason. He was just sitting in his car. And we're in Bellingham, and so it made me so mad. Like, he's like,
that's
20
disgusting.
Crying, and it was like horrible.
Poor guy.
I know.
You need to hunt down those people in the car and be like, no.
I know, right? I was
like, I like our discipline action. No.
No. With that face.
With no explanation. Just.
Yeah. Like, you know what you did was bad.
I don't have to say. That is teaching though, like getting your students to a point where you can just be like,
they
just know.
Some teachers do have that look down, like some kids know.
I figured it out with a couple students. I have that rapport with at least 2 students right now where I can just be like, Brandon.
They're like,
that's not his name. FERPA is a thing.
Oh, right.
For example.
Oh, God.
That's awesome.
Yes, but anyway, yes, the video was frustrating, but also faith in humanity restored at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like little social experiments like that because it's really interesting. Yeah. Because like people will say that they'll do one thing, but they might act differently in that scenario. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Reality is always different. So it's good to have those experiments. Sometimes those experiments can be a little hokey, but it depends on how you do it.
Right.
I was thinking that too, because this seems kind of like, it has kind of like small town diner feel to it, and like the other video that I watched was in like New York, where I feel like there's like a lot of people that I don't know. It is a very different scenario. So.
But the dynamic's also really different too, because if that situation happens in the county diner, You know, it's going to be a different response than if it happens on the city corner in Seattle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically, yes. But hopefully people still reacted in the same way of like...
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah. Let's see. Going back to her questions for the video, it said... Oh, she's like, how might you have participated in a condescending way? How might you have treated this? How have you been treated this way at some point or another? How did it feel? How can we understand and support varying abilities at the same time, treat our students with dignity? Well, I thought that was, at least the first part was kind of a silly question. Like, but I guess like hopefully I would expect that nobody entering into Woodring has ever treated anybody with a special need in a condescending way. Otherwise, maybe you shouldn't be a teacher because reasons.
But I guess we could forgive like being 5 years old and being like,
yeah, but then that's like
a weird kid, you know, like.
But that's ignorant. Like if no one has taught you that that's not appropriate to say, then like how you can't. I mean, hopefully
I think my general response. I think my general response like credited like how I was raised with like I don't. First of all, I don't like leading questions that are like, how have you done this? Like,
yeah.
Or even like, how have you not done this? That's a leading question, excuse me, but that's just me. But it's part of the question. But regardless, I think like I attribute how I was raised, like I give my parents a lot of credit with, you know, that was never okay.
Right.
And that was never even an option. They never did that. I couldn't do that. My brother couldn't do that. It was never okay if anybody else did it, and we would talk about it. So it was something that I grew up just around, and so it's so natural for me to be disgusted by that kind of behavior, and I have to give credit to the way I was raised for that. And you know, that kind of education, I guess, is important. I mean, I've also done a lot of work with disabled adults, some with the disabled kids, but mostly disabled adults. And that's some of the most incredible experiences I've ever had.
Definitely.
So, I mean, for me to even think about being like that is just that it makes me sick, actually.
Yeah. For how I answered that question, so my mom was a para-ed when I was in elementary school, and so she had her buddies that she worked with like basically all day, every day. And they had one of them that is really memorable to me is he had autism, and he did a lot of the same behaviors that the kid in the book Rules did. Like he recited entire episodes of SpongeBob, and like so he was like quirky little kid, like he was fun. But so like I grew up being around like that sort of situation, I guess, like those situations, like so it wasn't so weird for me. Like I just knew that he had this thing where he didn't act like me all the time, so but that was okay because that's just how he is. And so it was like a normal thing. And so how I interpreted
happens all the
time. The question about how might have you participated in a condescending way, the way I looked at that question was like I definitely wouldn't have been like the aggressor in the situation, but I think that if I didn't stand up for the family, if I didn't act on those feelings, like if I didn't stand up for the family, I would be just as bad for doing nothing as the person who was making the accusations.
Totally agree.
So that's kind of how I looked at it.
As a teacher, I feel like, or as an aspiring teacher, I feel like it's almost their responsibility. Like it's a duty.
Totally.
It's something that you need to be aware of and watching out for and looking for behaviors like that. And I don't know, just anytime, anytime like I see like a parent mistreating a child or like someone just mistreating another child, it's just like such a sensitive subject.
Yeah. I think that goes along with like the mandatory reporting. Like I feel like bullying and bully behavior should be included in that mandatory reporting thing. And like even for adults too. Like if I saw people picking on a like guy in a wheelchair or like a girl with autism, I'd be like, whoa, you're gonna take a step back right now, and we're gonna like not do this anymore.
Yeah, not even a week ago, actually, there was some abuse happening on the corner, and my friend and I were just like, no, like that is no right now. And it was in downtown Bellingham, and we were just like, we were going to the Black Trump, and we were walking in, and I was like, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. And so we ran across the street, and we're like, no. You know, and
wow.
And you know, someone else had called 911, so that was great, and everything showed up and was taken care of. But it's like, that should be a person thing. Like,
that's scary.
You shouldn't have to be a teacher for that to be like
physical abuse, or
between two. It was a guy and a girl, and they were both abusing each other.
Ugh. See, that's like,
I don't know who started it. I don't care.
That's a hard situation for me though, because like as a girl, I feel like I can't go break up a physical fight. And
yeah, but that's one of those things where like we did the training for the first aid stuff. The instructor talked to the women, and there was a couple women that brought up that concern, and he said, this is the point where you talk to a guy close to you and say, hey, like, can you do something about it? Can we do something about this? Like, you know, get somebody, because it's kind of like that you call 911 thing.
Right.
It's that, yeah, I'm asking somebody to do something and they could say no, but this is a more emergent issue, and I'd rather be a fool and deal with it than not be a fool and let it happen. And so that's what the trainers told us, and I thought that was brilliant. Was you know, because even as a guy, there are some situations that I don't. You know, like,
well, like, be a part of. Guy doesn't necessarily mean you can go like take out the other dude.
no, but and it doesn't, especially if it's like you're alone and there's more people and you don't know who started what, and people picking sides. You're there to break them up, and if they want to fight, you're just in the way of them fighting, and that's a problem.
Yeah,
I think that if I was a bystander in a situation where I feel like I didn't want to like touch anyone involved, I think that I would just start like making really empty threats, like I'm gonna call the police. I'm gonna do
we just like we yelled across the street and said, hey, and you know, we were like, get off each other, get away from each other. Like, no, like we were yelling at him to stop, really. And we, just because there was a couple of us, you know, there was two of us guys together, and we had the girl on the phone with 911. You know, we felt confident we could cross the street and just like make an actual presence. Because, but if I was alone, I'm not sure if I would have crossed the street.
Right.
You know, I don't know. Unless like the guy starts getting the upper hand and is like wailing on her, then maybe I could cross the street. But
or even if she was getting the upper hand and started wailing on him.
I'm just talking about the way the fight started. I started to be worried that was going to happen. So. But then she was holding her own, so I was like, I'm just.
You're like, actually, we can just let you fight it out.
Both of you stop. I don't know who started it, but both of you stop. But that's a real life situation, but like it happens in the classroom too. And I think it's a culture thing when you're teaching is how you set up the culture in your room, especially if you're in the elementary realm. You have a little bit more knowledge about needs coming into your classroom. And for example, like at Happy Valley, there's a first grade class, and there's a girl in that class with Down syndrome, and they have set it up so well that the whole class is there for her.
Nice.
Like everyone's just on it. No one's like she's not getting weird privileges just because she has a disability, but she's an equal. And like, you know, when she wants to take a solo to sing we do this solo activity where the kids have puppets and it's fun. But if she wants to take a solo, everyone's just as cool with her taking a solo as anyone else, even if it sounds worse for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah.
You know, everyone's cool about it. And I think that's made out of a culture that you create in your classroom.
And definitely. I think that's how a community in general is supposed to function. You know, like there's different people that make up a community, and you have to be respectful of everybody's needs and everybody's feelings, and that's just the way that a community should be. I think that's like the definition of a community, but that's just not the way that it works out a lot of the time.
Yeah. But like Landon was saying, in your classroom, like your classroom community is so much easier to control than
you are the boss in your classroom.
Yes.
Well, it's easier if you're like if you're in elementary school, there's a lot, like the issues are different, but you are more obviously the authority.
For sure.
Because like
dictatorship.
Just because it's height difference, even like, but
well,
like
I
they're
don't
also.
know so much for me, but
I didn't say it.
Like,
I didn't say it.
My serious librarian, like over the glasses look.
but like you can use that to your advantage there, and everyone's advantage really. Use that to everyone's advantage. That you can set up the culture, because you can say, hey, this is okay and this is not okay.
Right.
And they listen for the most part comparatively
to
my students who are the same height as me.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. Do we want to transition into talking about either the book or the article, or both, I guess?
Sure.
Yes.
I'm going to grab water, so if I disappear, don't ask me.
Okay.
I'm listening, I promise.
Okay. I think we should talk about the article, because that was short-ish. Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what I wrote here. I'm just quickly scanning.
It was about the different ways to critique material that has to do with disabilities, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it kind of reminded me of like how we're supposed to critique multicultural literature, and I felt like a lot of the criteria kind of mirrored the multicultural criteria.
Yes, I definitely agree. Mm-hmm. I felt the same way.
Because like I like the part that it talked about the like when you have like a book or something that has a person with a disability in it, so many times they make that person with a disability have like some other like special power or like something that the book revolves around. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, yes. It's just like the book has to do with them doing something like exceptionally crazy despite their disability. And like we were talking about how that's not the best, that should be like people like us, like that have normal issues and just are living ordinary lives. It shouldn't be this like.
Yeah, they don't have to be like a child prodigy piano player or something.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, when I read that, I was thinking about a book that I read about a teenager that had disabilities, and she was like really, 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 really smart and like helped all these detectives solve all these cases and stuff. And so I kind of was wondering if that was a book that maybe wouldn't have been so great.
Well, I feel like that's interesting though, because a lot of kids with autism really are super smart in like one subject. Like my mom worked with a kid who had autism, and then he was obsessed with trains. He knew everything, like literally everything there was to know about trains. He knew it. He had the train schedule for Ferndale memorized. So like 2 seconds before the train would blow its horn and come down the tracks by the school, he would be like, "The train is coming." And so we'd like go to cool. Like, the blinds, and you could see the train go by the window. And he's like, "Look, it's the 7275 train, and this is a coal train." And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, child." Yeah.
That'd be so cool though. Like that'd be so cool.
But yeah, like so his like superpower was just knowing a lot about trains.
Yeah.
And so like it made him happy, so that was great. But yeah, but I do see what you're saying, Kate, of it sometimes being a little bit excessive, especially in literature.
There's this curriculum that I just discovered for elementary music classes that we're using and all of a sudden it's yelling at us about free meetings. Yes, I don't understand the system. Anyway, so I guess fast, this elementary curriculum for music that we're using at Happy Valley right now is called Move It. So it's like this movement exercise that's part of many other things. But like, there's a video that you show that like teaches the kids, like, and they have like a group of people and they're all doing their motions or whatever to some classical music or something or whatever. But they have in the video like all these different types of people, and they have like there's this guy that's always in the video, and he's in a wheelchair, and like it's a movement activity, and so like it immediately you're like, is it gonna like how is it gonna deal with the steps? And he's gonna
rock it like a bus.
Yeah, he just either like like when it's the steps, he just either does something else with his hands or like he rolls for like it's like not even talked about. It's just normal, and I think that's how to approach it. Is like
definitely
that they have a place and it's normal and it's okay, and it doesn't even have to be caveated in. It can just be like, this is a person, they're just as equal as anyone else in this video,
that's
and
just how they live
it's cool, and I think that's like kind of going off of that, Caitlin, what you were talking about on the not just compensating for their disability with some superpower, but like just taking them as they are,
Yeah.
And like what you were talking about is like people are always trying to adapt like to any situation that they're in. So in that case, when his other classmates were doing different movements, he or she, I'm sorry, I don't know, was probably
it's a he.
Okay. In their head, like, okay, what can I do instead? Like if these students are doing this movement, he thinks, oh, maybe I can do this instead. Like people are constantly thinking about that kind of stuff and trying to adapt.
Yeah, and in the classroom, you probably have to like address that. Like, there's actually a high school band that I saw where there was this kid with autism that was in the percussion section, and like definitely couldn't do any of the music anyone was doing, but the director hand wrote a part for him.
Nice.
And it was a inconsequential for the band kind of part,
right?
But like to him it was everything, because he loved the counting of music, and so he'd give him like 32 measures rest, and then he'd give him like one drum hit, and this kid's like,
he got it every time.
And he was just so into it, and the whole band was like rallied around this kid, and it was so cool. But like, it takes a little extra effort on the teacher's part, but I think that
it's so worth it in the end.
It's this much for something that you don't even know how much it can mean to them. Like the mom of that kid, she bawled every concert because he's just sitting there, just like hands ready, and he's counting. You can see him, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. And it's so funny. It's so funny because he was engaged, and he was in it, and everyone was on his side, and he was part of the band like everyone else, and that's
awesome. That's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I think talk about the book a little bit really quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought that it followed all of the rules of how it was supposed to, all those guidelines from the article.
The puns.
Yes. Yeah. And I just really like the book anyway, in general. It reminded me a lot of this family that I used to babysit for. They are now living in China.
Oh.
They are teaching English there.
Cool.
But when I babysat for them, they had 2 adopted kids from China, and both of them had special needs. And they had 3 of their own. And then now they have 8 adopted kids from China, all with special needs. One of them has a glass eye. One of them is like, he's missing a few fingers. One of them in his wheelchair. One of them is an albino, and like concave chest, like all these random like deformities or like things that are wrong with them. And the thing that I learned, like at first when I first started watching them, I was like, oh my gosh, like super make sure that they have everything they need. Oh, they can't reach it. I'll get it for you. Don't hurt yourself. Like, and they were just like, get over yourself, girl. Like, I can get this thing off the shelf. Like, why is that a problem?
Yeah.
And that taught me the most of just like, they can pretty much do everything totally fine. Like, they don't need any special help from anybody. I mean, a little bit kind of, but like for the most part, pretty much no. And so in the classroom, like, they may need some special, 504 plan or whatever, but like pretty much just treat them like everybody else, and they will like that better than trying to make them feel special or something like that. So
yeah.
And plus, the rest of your students are going to go along with whatever example that you set. So if you
definitely
treat them just like every other student, then the rest of the students are just going to see them as another kid in their class, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
Moving them towards normal,
Yes, just showing them that it's normal.
And that it's okay.
Definitely.
But I thought the book was really cute.
Yeah.
I loved it. I definitely am going to have this in my classroom. And it makes me want to find more books that are like this. because that article brought up that teachers just didn't have books about kids with disabilities.
Yeah.
Just like they flat out didn't have them, or they didn't know where to get them. And so I don't want to be one of those teachers.
Oh.
Well, yeah, especially in this day and age, there's so many websites that like list books that have any kind of topic, you know, that you can go through. And then, I mean, obviously you're gonna have to like pick through and do the authentic evaluation to see if there's books, but there's so many resources for us to find this kind of literature now, so there's just really no excuse for teachers not to have it in their classroom.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. I mean, you know, then there's also a music person over here, so it's like, you know, I don't know if I'm going to have the literature of this on my walls. I don't know if I have walls, but, you know.
If you have walls. Okay, well, I do have to say that in one of my middle school choir classes, there was a guy, I don't even actually know what was wrong with him. I think he just had like a really traumatic brain injury because I guess like the rumor was that a tree fell on him when he was a little kid. And so he was in a wheelchair. Yeah.
That'll do it.
So he didn't talk. He could make sound, but he couldn't make words or anything. But he was in our choir class with us. I am secretly thinking that it was because we were all girls. And he thought that was pretty funny because he was the only boy.
That's really normal for middle school choir.
Yeah. So, but he would totally be in our choir and he would sing and he would like be so excited about singing and like he wouldn't like what he did. He didn't know what was going on, but he was like super excited to sing and that made him really happy. So like even if you get a kid that is deaf or like, I don't know, can't talk, music is a good like outlet for that. Yeah,
there's also there's a couple programs where students that have language issues will still, even though they might not be in the normal English class, they'll still go to the music class because your brain processes that differently. And so like it's kind of an access subject that allows people to transition because it's not overtly English sounds. It can be all kinds of sounds.
Right. Well, and it's not as scary as like, I'm going to teach you verbs. It's going to be like, let's sing a song about running.
And like everybody already knows this language. I don't know why you know it. Like that doesn't happen when we're all just singing like, you know, will you wear blue? Oh my dear, oh my dear. You know, like something, but you know, it's fun.
Yes. All right.
Good talk.
Yeah,
does anybody have anything to add? I think we have 1 minute and 20 left.
Yeah. I guess one last quick thought is we were talking about in another class how like wordless books, like books that are like really good resources to use with kids. Jenna, like, you know, I kind of relate that to music, that like music is so universal, just how like pictures are universal. I mean, obviously lyrics aren't universal, but actual music is universal.
Yep. We just had a kid go to his classroom and he like never talks in class and he like broke down, went to the teacher crying because a song we did made him think of his dad, and he apparently watched his dad die like right at his house, and like that was obviously traumatic, and nobody knew about this, but he like opened up to it just because that song engaged him, and it was like so he came back the next day.
All the feels.
I know. And he came back and he requested us to do that song. We're like, of course.
We're like, we'll sing the song every day, anytime.
We'll sing it all the time. So yeah, that's why I do what I do.
Good call. Good call.
I love it. Okay, I'm gonna end our recording.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Have a good night, guys.